Welcome to the Town of the Rain of the Heavens 7th broadcast. This is Keith, and we have Tony as a co-host, and we have a special guest, which is Stuart Ronaldson, our governor. Welcome, folks.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
All right, we didn't specify last week what we were going to be talking about this week, and thank God we didn't, because we have a really good program, I think, for you tonight. And to give people some food for thought on what they've been hearing, and the what we call the patriot communities, and the type of people that are there, what we've experienced, what we're experiencing now, and we're trying to bring a little bit of clarity to a lot of these groups that try a lot of different processes that seem to spring up about every 3 to 4 months. Some of the processes get people put in jail. Some of them get put on a list, domestic terrorist list, sovereign citizen list. Some of them get arrested in a courtroom for bringing up the Constitution. I have a right to travel arguments. A lot of these things. And believe me, I don't know about you guys, but I've been through a lot of these different communities and groups. I'm sure you were. Haven't you, or Stu, or Tony?
I spent a little time in there, yeah. Luckily, my particular circumstances, I was able to perceive some inconsistencies and catch-22s, and it just gave me a uncomfortable feeling, and I began withdrawing right around, probably 5 months, 6 months before I discovered the government of the United States of America.
And you, Tony? How did you end up here, by the way?
That pretty much the same way, and just through doing my own research and seeing where the facts were, and that's what brought me here.
Okay. So basically right now, we're going to be talking about some of this. This show is not, or broadcast, is not here to make fun of people. We're not here to belittle people. What we're here to do is bring out some specific facts that really need to be thought out exclusively before anyone puts their life on the line and their future on the line for claiming something that may or may not pertain to them. Claims are everything.
Yes, they're trying out processes that somebody else is throwing at the wall to see what sticks, and they could be potentially being used as guinea pigs.
Absolutely. And like I said, I've been through a lot of these groups. A lot of them I think they believed I was something I wasn't. I think they believed that I was anti-government type thing, or fight the system type deal. And what I was there for was to find out the truth of the corruption and try to fix it. I wasn't there to say, just we need anarchy and we need to be under common law with no written law, by the way. Common law is no written law, and that's what's going to save us. That's not what I was there to do. I was there to learn as much as I could, teach as much as I could from what I had learned, share information, and work with others. Well, and a lot of those communities, they don't work together. They don't stick together. And they fight amongst themselves constantly. So if you find yourself in one of those types of groups, you might want to reach out to the government of the United States of America that works with people and basically distances itself from people that don't work well with others, that are constantly creating strife, contention, arguments, coming up with conclusions that have no basis in fact.
Yeah, can we explore that for a moment?
Sure.
I think the rift, I think the passage of time, and 4 months goes by, and somebody in the alt media liberty group comes up with a new way of doing things, this will solve the problem. I think that's worth exploring, because I think a lot of people get caught up in that. And I'd like to start by saying that I believe, in part, that is a manufactured situation. Congress passed H.R. 5736, Smith Modernization Act, which effectively gave the U.S. permission to disseminate propaganda to the American public. Most people think, when they hear that, oh, okay, well, that's that's news, that's rah-rah TV shows and things like that. What often escapes them is that program material can also be web-based arguments, pseudo-legal arguments. There can be, for all we know, there can be a whole apparatus that is designed to leak intentionally contradictory legal arguments on how to bring things into, order. So I think that's something that really needs to be at the forefront of everybody's mind as they look to improve their knowledge about what's going on. What's the information? Where's the source? What's the true source of the information? And what is it saying as part of the? How is it fitting as part of the puzzle that you've already been able to construct and validate?
Right. When you hear somebody saying, "Man, that just sounds so stupid," it's frustration. You have to understand that. That's a part of actually is just love. That you're so frustrated for people because it's coming from a source that will not commit themselves to their own country. Say we had this. Say we had say the Constitution's all there. It all's working and everything's all as well. Why wouldn't you go to a court, raise your right hand, put your left hand on a Bible, and swear allegiance to that country? Why wouldn't you do that to your own country? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. If you loved your country as much as you say you do, you would have no issues, even if you didn't, or it didn't even make any difference in your own life. You would at least go do that. So what I'm noticing is these communities, with the disinformation you're talking about, Stu,
mm-hmm.
is causing these people to hate their own country and to be the most spiteful, venomous people you've ever met in your entire life.
Which, right,
impossible to live with.
Right, which separates them from the power apparatus, which makes them easily targeted and monitored, and it also makes them ineffective in attempting to correct and exert their will against the power structure, because they're fighting with each other also over who's got, the magic phrase and the perfect paragraph that's going to solve the riddle.
Exactly. And you're right. That magic phrase was witnessed by myself over and over. People saying, people would say, like, if I ever came up with a new discovery, I would share that discovery with her. Hey, we could do it this way, this way, this way. This fixes this problem, or this fixes that problem. But I wasn't necessarily finished with what I was studying. It was an ongoing process. And, in some cases, these things that I came up with would work. In some cases, they wouldn't. It just depended on the case. It was all this. So I said, okay, this is not going to solve anybody's problems, and it could possibly get people hurt. So we don't want to do that. So I'm going to stop doing that. And I'm going to buckle down, and I'm going to figure out exactly how this is done. Okay, how can a country be formed? How are things done that way? So I had to go way outside the box. Instead of sitting there, studying U.S. code for years, it was like 2.5 years. Every night, 2 or 3 hours a night, I was sitting there, studying U.S. code. You know what I lost? I'm going to tell you what I lost, because I lost friends and I lost family. Because I wasn't paying attention to anybody. I wasn't working on those relationships. I was working on, I'm going to find the solution in this U.S. code.
Right. The magic phrase.
Exactly.
That,
I'm going to find,
and I think that's
this is it. I know they're doing something wrong. I just don't know what they're doing wrong.
Yeah. And I think that's a very real experience for many, many of the folks out there in the liberty environment, the freedom environment. It's it's unfortunate, and that's why I bring up the HR 5736. They must understand that there's a strong possibility that those solutions, which really aren't solutions, they're just nonsense. There's a real possibility that those are being fed into their community by nefarious sources.
And people
they gotta be aware of that.
And people are so frustrated and desperate at this point to get out of a system that they know is, is full of deception, and that they actually pay their hard-earned money for these magic documents that could potentially land them in jail.
Or if you're among the, like a basic county that kind of understands that, has a little mercy on the guy, they just kind of nonchalantly ignore you.
Yeah, it's not a win. Right, I agree with that 100%. I've heard many stories, and I'm hoping that I'm interpreting your statement correctly. I've heard many stories from people that walk around proud as peacock, that they've chalked up a win in their court system. When you really examine what occurred, somebody showed them a little bit of mercy and just went, yeah, okay, you're better off on your way, buddy. It wasn't really a legal win. But what happens? What do? They turn around and hit the internet and say, here's the solution. Here's the magic word.
Now there was one. I think it was in North Carolina. Wasn't that the Citizens? A state within a state. They're two separate states. Remember that was just a couple of weeks ago?
Yep.
That he got a court case dismissed on that. It was two separate states. And that's because, in fact, he was correct. He was right about that. There was a state that was created within a state.
Right. That's a real win. That's not.
Yeah, that's a real win. And that guy, I believe, has an oath and affirmation to that state as a citizen. I believe that organization, those state citizens, do take some kind of allegiance or pledge or something like that to their state as state citizens. And that's the difference. There's a big difference between that. Now, if you've got somebody that's coming out with something, the best thing to do is ask them this question, okay? Well, it says in the Constitution here, 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 and here. The first time they bring up the Constitution, ask them if they have an oath and affirmation to it. Are they a party to that? And if they say no, walk away. Don't get pulled into that.
Yeah, that's a real good point.
Yeah, walk away. If they have no stake in the game, then why would you listen to somebody like that doesn't have any stake in any games? They're just willy-nilly entertainment, listening to some freaking show. That's all it is. They didn't stand before the Most High and put their hand on the Bible and raise their right hand and affirm before Him. If they haven't done that, don't listen to them. They have no stake in the game. And they're using you.
Which is unfortunately, it's just about everybody.
There's quite a few. Yeah, there is quite a few. There are some that do have a stake in the game, and they're decent people, and they're just trying to do the right thing. Okay, there are some of those, but there are so many that are not doing the right thing that get other people in a big load of crap, and then they just walk away. Oh, well, I'm sorry, man. It was your fault. You screwed up. You didn't do this right in the UCC. Okay. Now, this government, the government of the United States of America adopted the UCC. Okay? Now, keep in mind, folks, you don't ever use the UCC because the UCC is private law. It's private. It was created by a private organization that was used as a guide to help the states create statutes from it. So if you are looking in the UCC, you have to find the corresponding state statute that applies to that particular part of the UCC. If you quote the UCC, that's why it doesn't work. It was just a guide. It has no standing in law whatsoever. Nobody went in and read the document. And nobody went in and read anything about the UCC. All they do is have some guy on a call that's ripping off UCC-356, blah, 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 305 in agriculture, UCC-9, and it sounds like he knows what he's talking about. But knowing all the UCCs has zero standing anywhere else because that was used as a guide to create state statutes.
Mm-hmm.
The statute in that system is what creates the standing in that system. So be careful about that when you have people coming up to you, well, just do a UCC 1, a security interest. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Did you guys write a contract with somebody that has a loan? Did you give somebody a loan on something? Then you have no security interest. If you're not loaning your property to somebody or loaning them their money or whatever it is you want to loan, then you have no security interest in it. There's no UCC 1. That's just the way it works. Stay away from it. We'll give you an example, okay, of how people read things, but they don't really read things. So you have to be very careful about this. Take Article 3. Let's go over to the Constitution of the United States, which, by the way, has been the most sold document, and the more money has been spent on free propaganda for that document than I think the Bible itself. What do you guys think?
It could be. Bible's right up there, but you're right. Constitution.
If it was a freaking statue, if it was a statue, basically people would be bowing to it. Okay, that's really what it's become a freaking idol,
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting. I think that's a good subject to dive into. I'll let you jump in there in a moment, but I'll concur that you're right. It's a hyped document beyond belief. All the answers come from it. The world would run perfectly if all the principles were applied correctly. That's the nature of the perception, and it's unfortunately it's erroneous. But we can give some examples. Go ahead.
It's funny too because we rewrote when we properly vetted and claimed the Articles of Confederation, and we rewrote that document. Our political party did in convention. It's an awesome document, by the way, but we don't sit there and sell the stupid thing. You follow what I'm saying? We don't sit and sell it constantly because why, folks? Because there's 194 countries that are members of the United Nations, and that means that there's 194 constitutions. Everybody's got a constitution, guys. Canada has their own constitution. How many times do you hear about the Canada Constitution?
I never do.
No one ever does. No one ever even knows how China is run. No one's ever even seen their constitution.
Mm-hmm.
But they all have one, and they're all basically the same.
Yeah. And I can't go a day without getting some sort of Constitution reference pushed in my face, either from a politician in the news, or a news article from corporate media, or the liberty groups.
Yeah,
can't escape
another,
it,
man. Yeah, and what that means is this is a republic is a dream sold to keep people out of the way, and we're going to prove that tonight. Okay, number one. Let's go to Article 3 in their Constitution, Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. Pretty clear? So all the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. So you're going to have one Supreme Court, and then Congress is going to ordain and establish inferior courts.
That's how it reads.
That's how it reads. Okay? Now, let's go over here. The Judiciary Act of 1789 was signed into law on September 24, 1789 by President George Washington. Although it was originally created by Senator Oliver Ellsworth of Connecticut, beyond creating an outline of the federal court system, the Act also established the position of Attorney General. The Judiciary Act of 1789 stipulates that the Supreme Court shall consist of a Chief Justice and 5 associate judges, according to the Library of Congress. Now, I'll bet you any amount of money that 90% of the listeners that listening to this program did not catch that. What that was. They stipulates that the Supreme Court shall consist of Chief Justice and 5 associate judges, according to the Library of Congress. And that's not even it. If you have a Supreme Court, one Supreme Court established by your Constitution, why do you need a Judiciary Act to establish the same Supreme Court? You don't. So, guys, the U.S. Supreme Court, and I'm not saying guys on this call, I'm talking about the folks that are listening, the U.S. Supreme Court is an inferior court to the one Supreme Court, because it was created by an act under Congress. But how many people, through propaganda of how great this Constitution is, which is just like 193 others in the world, have fallen for that propaganda that, well, the U.S. Supreme Court said it, when the U.S. Supreme Court is an inferior court to the one Supreme Court that was created in that Constitution. Because it said, right in the same sentence, that any inferior court created by Congress. Congress created the Judiciary Act of 1789. That means it was inferior. But how many people say, well, the Supreme Court's law of the land? No, it's not.
No, they fall for it every time the Supreme Court goes into session.
Self-proclaimed.
Absolutely. And then I think we brought this up before, and we'll bring it up again. Now, does the president in that company, by the way, he says, shall be Commander-in-Chief of the Army, Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states, which called into the actual service of the United States, he may require the opinion in writing and blah, blah, blah. Did anybody catch that? He's the militia of the several states. He's the head of the militia. So, does he ever take an oath and affirmation as Commander-in-Chief? Anybody ever hear about that?
Nope.
Never does. Although all generals have to, don't they? They have to take an oath and affirmation to the Constitution. Why doesn't he, as Commander-in-Chief? Second, he takes an oath and affirmation to faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States However, never takes an oath to the office of the President of the United States of America. So how many people will sit there, guys? I mean, seriously, how many people will stand there and say, they were watching Obama, okay? They were worried about he was going to have some kind of, what was it called, Quran, okay, when he was taking his oath, right? And didn't they have to do the oath twice?
Right. Yes, I did read that he did it twice.
Yeah, he got all screwed up. I remember seeing it. You remember seeing it, Tony?
Yep.
Yeah, it was on the news, right? So he had to take this thing twice. That's how important it was, okay? If it was so important for him to take the oath of the office of President of the United States twice, otherwise he wasn't really the president, then why is it that they automatically give it a pass that he never takes an oath and affirmation to the President of the United States of America? Now, I'm not bashing this. I'm just showing this is basic stuff, guys. Basic things in dealing with countries and dealing with offices and all these stuff. This is grade school on an international scale. And yet, every time people will say, well, he's the President of the United States of America. Elect. No, he's not. He never takes an oath to it. If you're going to hold three separate offices, excuse me, which is Commander-in-Chief, President of the United States, and President of the United States of America, you damn well have three different oaths and affirmations to it, or affirmations to it.
That's right.
Otherwise, legally and lawfully, he does not hold the office. So the country, since they have, when they put this thing together, that's a really big screw-up. Wouldn't you think? A huge screw-up. Why would you put an office, okay, an oath and affirmation to one office and forget the others?
I'm not sure you forget.
I was going to say deliberately forget.
Yeah.
And then why would you say it's the Constitution of the United States and not of the Constitution of the United States of America? So, folks, you have never had, according to these documents here, a President of the United States of America that would uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. Ever. It's quasi-power of attorney. So that's just a few things. So, you know, we just put out our notice of our legal tender, which was by the Continental Dollar, which, by the way, is recognized by by the Articles of Confederation, and we got. I mean, it was amazing how much attention that got. We didn't have any clue that people would be doing that. Would be so interested in the Continental Dollar as legal tender. But we got a lot of interesting comments about it. And one of the main ones was, is it backed by gold and silver? Which, by the way, that's a funny question. But go ahead. I think you had that too, didn't you, Stu?
Yeah, that's just a moment. Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution references that no state shall make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. You know, the problem is that everybody's walking around now with Federal Reserve notes in their pocket. So why, when we introduce currency, the Continental Dollar, authorized by the government of the United States of America, are they so concerned that it's backed by silver and gold?
Exactly, even because it has nothing to do with the United States or the U.S., and it has nothing to do with that Constitution.
We need to I think we need to break that down. We probably should break that down for the folks. So it has the Continental that we've announced is not a U.S. currency. It's not a United States currency. It's not a United States of America currency. It says right on it, the United States of America. It's authorized by the government of the United States of America. We're separate from United States and United States of America. That's three different entities there. So if you didn't realize that, that's something that you need to put in your pocket. So for these folks to get ecstatic over it, that's kind of cool. For them to try to lay waste to it with, bad mouthing it with an argument and with what they consider a valid question of is it backed by silver and gold? It's borderline silly. The Federal Reserve note isn't recognized by the Constitution, which is supposedly what they're operating under. We could have probably a whole radio show on that. But the fact remains that they're carrying around Federal Reserve note under the illusion that it's U.S. dollar. But it's not. It's a private script. And it's because it's not recognized by the Constitution, which they claim that they're operating under, then they're operating in a black market. So they're criminals. That's another inconsistency within the Liberty Group that they really have to come to grips with, in my opinion.
Right. And let's go into what happens when you use gold and silver to back your currency.
Okay.
The reason why I know this is because this same exact thing happened to us in a certain period of our development, as we were developing and moving into an independent nation and all that. We had a money that was backed 1-to-1 with silver. Well, that was all good and well. However, foreigners were asking us, they were going to buy our money that was backed by silver, and then when the service was complete, they wanted the silver. They wanted to cash in the money they were given for the silver to take it overseas. That's a major problem there. Because Canada, not to say that they were or even thought of doing this, if you have a redeemable silver and gold certificate where you can go and redeem your money for a gold and silver coin in the bank at any time you wanted, a lot of people from Canada, Mexico, Europe can come over here, use their money to buy your silver certificates, trade those silver and gold certificates into coin, and bring them over back over to their country. Within 10 years, you're broke.
Yeah, exactly. Just strip you of your wealth. Exactly.
So, kind of a dumb idea.
Well, yeah, and we're back to how we kind of opened the show with the propaganda thing. That right there, backing the the Liberty Group screams about any new currency has to be backed by gold and silver and redeemable. But, it's almost a nonsense, for practicality purposes. It's almost a nonsense argument. So that could be an example of that community being fed faulty runaround information. And
absolutely, and it keeps them out of the way because
right.
The republic, it becomes a dream for them. So they're constantly waiting for somebody to give them their republic. And they'll sit and wait.
And they're redeemable. And they're redeemable. Yeah. So
rather than acting on it, rather than claiming it, rather than doing it, rather than anything, they always wait. Somebody is coming to save them. Especially There's always a general, isn't there? There's always a high military official getting ready to give them their republic back.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting waiting for their republic.
Yeah. Yeah. Sly Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger. Somebody's going to come riding over the horizon. The hero comes riding over the horizon, saves the day at the end of the movie. You know?
It's sad, but it's true.
Yeah.
Instead of acting on it. Now, a real republic, guys, think about it. There's two different types of republics here. You already have a republic that you wanted, or that you think you had, but you really just don't. I mean, you just don't recognize it. There's two different types of republics. One is where a heir to a throne gives up their throne and becomes president of a country, an elected president. What you don't know is in that type of republic, because he's honored for giving up such a great throne as king of a country, and he humbled himself so gracefully before the people to serve the people and blah. That's how it's sold. Okay, that's how they do their propaganda to get people to listen. And what do you think an executive order and a king's decree is? It's both the same thing.
That's correct.
So, if that's the case, you have a republic. Donald Trump is still he's a relative, just like Hillary Clinton is, just like the Bushes are. They're all related to each other. They're all related to George Washington. There has been, I don't think, one president that was not related to George Washington. There was one, but he was Dutch, working out of Manhattan Island.
Yeah, I don't chisel this in stone. I think it was Van Buren.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and they were Dutch, and they did this. And I've noticed a lot of the people in the what we call the Patriot movement are that do a lot of these guru things are Dutch. They are related to the Dutch in some way or somehow. If you go check their name, they'll figure out it's very close to the Dutch. But don't quote me on that. Go take a look.
Yeah, but ultimately the point that you're making is there's really no outsiders. You don't really rise to national prominence as a political leader without being part of the family.
Exactly. And folks, you got to understand that is their right. That's not corruption. That's their right. Because you believe that you have a republic form, which is another type of where it's of, by, and for the people, because that was the propaganda you were sold. That was the idol that was placed before you for you to bow down to and worship. On an amazing propaganda scheme.
Yeah.
I've never seen
Donald
the Constitution mentioned so many times in my entire life. France never even does it. I mean, nobody does that. Go ahead. All right.
I was just going to say that, Donald Trump is likely to be inaugurated in January, and he talked about during the campaign, if anybody followed it, he talked about, he ripped up his adversaries about making bad deals and stuff. He's gonna tighten up some of these business deals, but that's for their corporation. That's not necessarily gonna, he's not doing it for Joe in Idaho and Sally in Nebraska. He's doing it to tighten up the profitability and the functionality of the corporation. That's what he's doing.
One of their own satellite offices.
Yeah,
exactly. He's cleaning up the brand. Okay, he's cleaning up the symbol. He's cleaning up the I don't know what you call that logo. Logo's been tarnished. It's got crap all over. He's got to clean it up. So he didn't say he was going to get rid of those deals, did he? He just said we're going to renegotiate those deals for where they're better. That's not really changing.
Yeah, and we're not sitting here trying to predict his policy platform or anything. We're just saying that likely what you're going to see is, he might throw out some of the agreements that the Bushes and the Clintons or Obama got into, but what you're likely to see is that he alters the terms to increase profitability and things of that nature. As he's going to attack it as business deals. But it's not necessarily what the people have to understand is it's not necessarily for their benefit, unfortunately.
Although they may indirectly benefit.
Yeah.
Either through jobs,
it'll depend on right. It'll depend on the policy and all that. But that's what's really occurring. He's in charge of the. Go ahead.
Yeah, an oversimplification could just, for people to understand, it's just a business hanging up a sign that says under new management.
That's it.
Yeah.
He's got to bring some validity back to it. Nobody wants to listen to him anymore. Every time they say something, they believe people are lying. They're watching Trump like a freaking hawk. Everything that guy does. I mean, he can't go to the bathroom without screwing up. You know what I mean? Or without being scrutinized. And how many times he goes.
And
that's
also
how bad it is.
Yeah, and one thing that we want to bring out here to the listeners is remember that we're talking to you guys, but also the international business community is pretty tired of the United States and the United States of America. They've done some heinous things, and they're clearly their reputation has been tarnished over the last 3-4 decades.
And their days were numbered.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Their days were numbered. The whole world was getting ready to pounce. Getting ready to pounce on them. If Hillary had gotten in, they'd have probably given it 6 months and it'd been over. They were getting ready to pounce on them. And that's just from people that we know, that we talk to. We talk to foreigners all the time because of our foreign relations and everything else. So we hear it. We hear it from everyone. We don't want to we're not against the United States. We're just tired of them coming in our country. Just coming and doing what they want and leave. That's what they were tired of. And it was really hurting relations. Big time hurting relations.
Yeah, and violating human rights and all that stuff.
Right. So which way do people need to go? What we can do is this, not need to go. They can choose to go. How's that? We don't want to tell them what to do. It's their own choice.
It's an option.
Yeah, it's an option. Okay. If you guys want, let's put the facts together. The gold and silver is not being used, so therefore your Article 1, Section 10 is not working, right? Is that it? Or Article 10, Section 1?
There's Article 1, Section 10. Is that correct, Stu?
Gold and silver?
Yeah, the gold and silver, Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution,
okay.
Yep.
All right. Which, by the way, guys, we're not a party of. So anybody that's listening we're not a party to that Constitution. We're not subject to it in any way. We're not accepting any benefits of it. We're just relaying what we see from our point of view to people that where we came from and where we ended up. And we're hoping this information will help you go a little bit further in anybody that's interested in obtaining a possible constitutional right. Okay? Now, you have what they call a U.S. Congress. People just grown up with it. That's the U.S. Congress. Folks, go to the Constitution you think that it's being operated under and read where it says Congress of the United States. Before, it used to be called Congress of the United States and Congress of the United States of America. That was when the House of Representatives was called Congress of the United States of America. It was not called the U.S. House of Representatives. There is no such thing in that Constitution. Obviously, they're not operating under it. There's a completely separate Constitution that we don't know about or have never read. Because We have an office of the governor for the United States of America. Okay? We can't start a governor's office. That's a completely separate office. We can't just create that willy-nilly and out of thin air. We can't change that in any way. It's the office of the governor, office of the Treasury.
Yeah, it's to put it in common man stuff. McDonald MC is different than McDonald MAC. They're different. They're not interchangeable. You would be addressing someone incorrectly with the inaccurate spelling if they were MC and you used MAC. That's kind of what we're talking about.
Right. So you have a Constitution of the United States of America, and then you have a Constitution for the United States of America. Now, this isn't a call or a show where people can listen to this and say, hey, that sounds like a great idea. I'll put it on this document today and file it in court because I got a court case I'm trying to fight over here. That's not what this is about. Please don't do that. Please, anything that you learn on these broadcasts, especially from the town of the Reign of the Heavens, is the information here is not to hurt you. It's just simple educational material. Okay, so don't use it to hurt yourself. Properly vet this.
Yeah, you don't want to play around in the courts.
Yeah, you don't want to sit there and mess around with your own future, because these guys, when you go into their courts, that judge has pretty much control over your future.
Yeah, and I think one of the realizations that a lot of the populace has made over the last 10, 15 years is that you don't want to play around in their courts. If you don't know what you're doing, don't dabble in this stuff thinking that you're going to figure it out.
Right, because you got to be really careful, guys. So what we're saying is this. If you want to be a part and want to be able to claim the right, title, and benefit of the Constitution for the United States of America, then you have to claim it and fulfill its agreement.
As we did with the Articles of Confederation.
Exactly. This is your process that you have to do. So this doesn't mean that, well, I read this in the Constitution, I can go ahead and put this down. And then when a judge says, no, you can't do that, you're full of fraud. I'm going to lien you. I'm coming after you. He's not full of fraud. He's telling you something. He's saying you're not properly vetted, bud. That's all the man's saying. You're not vetted.
That's it.
So we have to tell you this. He doesn't want if he really cared about you, he would probably say, look, I'm going to give you about 6 months to a year right here, not in jail, to revisit this case, because what I'm going to ask you, you may or may not understand. Are you properly vetted as a party to the particular Constitution that you're talking about, that you're claiming? Which means, did you claim it properly to be a party to it at all? Did you make it public notice? We have the Constitution for the United States of America recorded in our archives at the Office of the Registrar, in a sub-office that she runs, which is the Office of Deeds and Recordings. And she is an elected office holder. Or that office holder is an elected office holder. Now, which means I just showed you that's proper vetting right there. Does she qualify for what she does? Does that individual that's holding that office, whether it's a he or a she, are they qualified to be in that office? So the Constitution for the United States of America, I think it was back in the 1800s, this particular one, was recorded in our archives just to preserve it. We put that out in the newspaper and not one individual said anything. They didn't say, why did you record that document? Hey, that's my document. Or, hey,
right.
I'm a part of that document. Nobody
That's right. No,
reported.
they didn't even ask questions as to why would you do that, or how do you do that, or why did you do it? You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely not.
No questions, nothing.
So we're looking for people to sign for it. We need a trustee who would like to sign for that, put it in, give it to them in trust, and you have a certain period of time, which is 6 years or 6 months to a year, to publish that it's been claimed and where it's being held, what particular document, what year it is, what your intentions are in using it, that you would like to fill the offices. You would like people within the states to come together in assemblies and, adopt that particular document and have an election to fill those offices. I mean, something. You have to work at this. You have to do this. You can't take something off the internet willy-nilly and then just say, oh, I'm just going to put that in my document, claim it for my own. It's not properly vetted, guys. Are you a party to it? No. Is it going to land you in jail? Yeah. For a charge you've never even seen. Because you're claiming to be something you're not. And claiming to be a party of something that you're not. In the 90-day notice, you have to give an email or something like that people can come to you and say, no, sir, no, you can't claim that document because my family is a part of that document. And I'm going to show you how I'm properly vetted in that claim, and no, sir, you can't claim that document. That is a part of ours. Now, the main thing is if someone does that and says, no, you can't claim that document, it's our document, our family's a part of that, no, then you turn around and ask, may I be a party to the document? May our family become a part of it? Then you can claim the benefit of it. If you don't, you haven't been properly vetted, and therefore, you're going to get slammed. After the Civil War, folks, the records were wiped. I mean, most people don't even have a last will and testament of their great-grandfather. The Civil War tore this country to pieces. And there was a lot of really bad stuff going on. Meaning records were being destroyed, records were being, in registrars' offices around the counties, were being removed and brought back with new names on the deeds. There was a lot of stuff going on. That wasn't, they didn't have internet, they didn't have TV, they didn't have any of that stuff, so they could do this without being seen. Which, by the way, that's where the Declaration of, or the Pledge of Allegiance came from. In order to get your land back, you have to do a Pledge of Allegiance. Do the flag of the United States, that one there, that pledge that you used to use every morning.
Yeah, so you're pledging allegiance to a flag,
mm-hmm.
for the Republic. Let's see, how's that go? Allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, and to the Republic for which it stands.
I wouldn't be quoting that, but but at any rate, that's the one I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens where now people only have a way to identify themselves, which is a birth certificate and a driver's license, and possibly a passport. And that's it. That's all they have.
Yeah, I read once, just kind of a fun fact, or maybe you mentioned it to me, but doesn't the U.S. military operate the genealogy site, that popular one?
Yeah, Ancestry.com. Yes, they do. They do. The Pentagon owns that.
Mm.
They own that site, and they're trying to get people to find their mothers and fathers and all that, so that they can get get people properly vetted and settled.
Yeah, it's a real problem, and
Yeah,
it was done intentionally, of course.
Yeah, it was done intentionally, but I think the Pentagon's trying to fix it. They're not all bad. Okay, they've got their quirks, and just like any organization, you got good and bad people in there. But I don't think they're trying to do anything mischievous when it comes to that. I think they're literally trying to find people in there. Gee, who are you? Who the hell are you? It's good for.
Yeah, no, I believe that they're working to try to square some. The burning of the records, the taking of the records, the altering of the records during war, 1812, the Civil War, that stuff, that was intentional. That was part of the point.
Exactly.
So,
you have to get the people to lose who they are so you can give them a new identity. And therefore, if you have control of their identity, you have control of them.
There you have it.
Okay? Now, let's go to another aspect of this, and you guys are going to know exactly why we have a little issue with gold and silver. Now, if, say, somebody comes in and claims that document, which is the Constitution for the United States of America, and we'll show you where it is, and you can download it, and we attach the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to it and the whole thing. And within it, it says you can only coin gold and silver. But first you have to, get all the offices filled, and you have to get the political parties involved, and there's a lot of things you got to do. Now you got to find somebody that's going to sponsor you with their gold, because you don't have any gold. Nobody has any gold or silver. It's either owned by very high up private individuals that are billionaires at the moment, that back it, they use it how they wish, but they're probably not going to bring or give or sponsor your treasury with their gold. Now, what that means is that they're going to have to sponsor your treasury, which means they're going to have to put that up for gold, but put that up for your money, to back your money, but they're not going to do it for free. It's going to be interest, and that's where your taxes come in. The one who has the gold makes the rules. So, where's the value in the Continental Dollar? That's what everybody wants to ask. Where's the value in this? This is worthless stuff, blah, blah, blah. It says national currency on it, guys. Control of your nationality is control of who you are and your identity. The real value is not controlling your money. It's controlling your identity, who you are. Your pledge, your oath, your affirmation. If you control who a man is, who cares about gold and silver? That's worthless. It's nothing. And we're not trying to sell you a piece of paper here. What we're saying is control of your identity, your nationality, is everything. Why do you think they went into Iraq, and the very first place they hit were the museums, to get rid of the people's identity? That was where the value was in Iraq, not the oil. They could care less about the oil. They wanted the identity of the Iraqi people because they wanted to be able to control it. You control somebody's nationality, you got power of attorney for them, and guess what, folks? You are a living being. You have perpetual energy. You think, you're able to do things, you're able to have talents and build things. There's a lot of things you can do that gold cannot do. So stop looking for value outside of yourself. And then you'll have true value.
There's a good line.
And that is what the Continental Dollar is. It is your first step of claiming a nationality. where a republic form of government, you have control of your own identity and who you are. That's what the government of the United States of America is. And that's why it is such a threat to the global elites. They want you to give up who you are and what you are so that they can give you a global citizen status that they control. So, you want to give that up? And it's over a piece of gold rock?
Complete
Go
with,
for it.
That's right. Complete with a PIN number and chip in the plastic card.
Yeah, yeah.
Their quick ability to shut you off if they don't like what you're buying.
Yep. The whole thing, kit and caboodle, folks. There was one guy that said, remember this? This was on a call a couple of weeks ago. He said, well, will I be able to, still do banking and everything if I claim a nationality? And I'm thinking to myself, if I was dealing with an individual that if I claimed a nationality, I couldn't use their bank, I'm not going to trade my nationality for a piece of plastic. I'd rather have my nationality back. Thank you very much. Why would I sell my nationality for a little piece of plastic with 16 numbers on it?
Well, that basically brings us to the fork in the road, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's the people's choice right there. They're offering a plastic card and the ability to, and we're offering a nationality.
That could turn into a plastic card without having to give up your nationality.
Yeah, we're working on that.
We're working on that, yeah. But right now, we have it in cash. And it's labor backed. You get, well, what's it worth? Okay. I cut some lawns. I paint some houses. What's it worth to you now? You create money out of thin air anyway. People do it every day. How much is that worth to you? I'll do it for about $2,500. Okay. That's what the Continental's worth. You don't have to change a thing. And you don't have to give up a nationality. It's called American national status, folks. It is fully recognized on the whole American continent because that's the name of the country, of the continent, America. Do we need to cover anything else tonight?
I think that's a lot for people to think about, and put together.
Yeah, that's a lot. we could do a show in the future on nationality and status and stuff like that. Has that been touched on before?
No, we haven't.
That'd be an eye opener.
We have not touched Article 15 of the UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Mm-hmm. That would be an eye opener.
Yeah, and we have not touched on, you know what we can talk about next week, guys? We can talk about Roosevelt, May 7th, 1933.
Nice. There you go, folks. That's something to talk about, so you can look that up, Google it, so that you can be more familiar with it when we have that discussion.
Absolutely, because you're being controlled by a religion you never knew existed. So, anything else before we say goodnight? Everybody good?
Yeah. No, I don't have anything else.
Okay, next week we'll talk about May 7th, 1933, what Roosevelt did in his speech about the New Deal. And it's something completely different, and we have the backup for that speech. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you those folks that do control gold, by the way, that would would put it in the system if they wanted to, no matter who was president, and it would have been done already. But obviously they don't want to do it, so they haven't done it. And they would have the controlled it to do it because they're the ones that stole it. But, you know, ask for a thief for his property back, for your property back, you probably won't, you know, probably won't happen. Number one, he's admitting he stole it. So, number two, it's best to make people think that you owned it in the first place if you stole something. Think about it, folks. Just think about it. We'll talk about that next week. And thank you for joining the Town of the Rain in Heavens broadcast, number 7. And we will see you later on.